Hello and welcome everyone. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about energetic boundaries. So what they are, how they can be challenged, and of course, what can we do practically to address these boundary challenges? So most people tend to think of boundaries in terms of being able to say no to someone. And of course, that is a part of it. However, sometimes we can encounter boundary challenges at very unconscious levels. For example, let's say you have a member of your soul family, maybe a twin flame, that is attached to your energy field. And usually this happens because there is something that is unresolved between you and that soul family member. Usually there are programs, usually there is some kind of blocking belief system and or vows and contracts that are in place that need to be dealt with. So I'm just going to bring up a little picture now, which I think will be helpful just to give you an idea about what our boundary system looks like. Let me just get that going. So I need to do a screen share here, just a moment. Okay. So again, just this is not my artwork. This is actually taken from one of Cyndi Dale's books, but it's a good picture which gives us an idea of the boundary system that we have in place. Most people are familiar with the term auric field. So essentially, this is what we're talking about when we talk about our energetic boundaries. So we have 12 fields within the auric field system. The first one corresponds to the root chakra, which is generally somewhere around there. And of course, you can see it over here, but it runs all the way around the body. Second chakra correlates to the second auric field, and so on and so on and so on. So we can have, as I mentioned earlier, let's say you have, sorry, I'm not very good at drawing with this pen, so excuse my artwork there. We can have, for example, soul family members that show up in the auric field. Okay, so this, let's say, going back to our example, this is a twin flame, and there's something that is unresolved between you and this soul family member. This particular soul family member doesn't even have to be in the physical. Often they show up when they're not in the physical. And so let's just say he's corded in to the third eye chakra over there. Okay, now there can be all sorts of other things going on in addition to cording and attachments with other beings. Let's say, for example, out of the trauma experience that you had in a past life with that particular soul family member, you decided you were going to have a vow contract to limit yourself or to suffer or sacrifice. You may have, for example, something called a deflection device sitting in your heart chakra, okay, as part of that agreement, as part of that setup. What that will mean for you in terms of what you've experienced in your reality is a lot of hardship in terms of attracting loving relationships, loving experiences into your reality. And of course, these kinds of things can be dealt with when we work with higher spiritual guidance. They can be removed from the field. And of course, that's going to have a very positive impact in terms of you being able to move forward and co-create healthier relationships. So that's just a little outline there of our boundary system and the kinds of things that can be going on, as I said, at very unconscious levels. All right, so let me just stop sharing here for a minute. Okay, and what did I want to talk about next? I want to talk about what are the kinds of things that would compromise our boundaries. So let's talk about the physical boundary violations or challenges that we can have. So some of these are, being violated or abused in some way, or even you can have a physical boundary violation if you are witnessing someone who has been abused, violated, for example, witnessing, maybe a murder or a mugging or something else. Okay, there's something also very interesting referred to as microchimerism, which is essentially where we take on the cells of our mother, or even if you were like, say, for example, the third child born in a family, you can even take on the cells of your mother's previous pregnancies from your siblings. That, in addition, is also what we would consider to be a kind of physical boundary violation. There's all sorts of different examples. I'm only going to give a few here. Neglect trauma. So where, your parents maybe didn't meet your needs in some way. Experiencing some kind of illness, addictions, and of course there are many, many more other kinds of examples I could give, but I don't want to go on too long here. I'm now going to move on to talking a little bit about the next kind of boundary challenge we can have, which are the emotional boundary challenges. So this is where really we're having our feelings discounted by others. It could be anybody, okay? Or it could be that we are taking on the feelings of others. Or it could also be where we are holding on to immature beliefs or belief systems that are really not serving our highest and best good. So I want to just read a quote that I found in one of Cyndi Dale's books. She has an amazing book that deals exactly with this topic. It's called Energetic Boundaries. I'll put the name of that book in the description box below for those of you who may want to take a deeper dive into the book. I highly recommend it. It's excellent for people who are doing energy work, including SRT, and or for just people who are interested in all things spiritual. So here's the quote, and I think this really summarizes what I'm talking about here. These situations, referring to what I was saying earlier, can leave us with rigid emotional energetics, the type that make us feel alone in the world and out of touch with ourselves. Permeable boundaries, which cause us to have feelings of craziness and erratic emotions. And then there's gaping boundaries, which can leave us emotionally exhausted and overwhelmed. So I'd like to give you a real life example now of how I actually worked on someone who had an emotional boundary challenge, and using SRT, I was able to, you could say, correct that boundary issue and challenge. And amazingly, this actually corrected, for want of a better word, corrected a situation in terms of a physical issue. So let me just bring up a picture here because I think pictures are helpful for the learning process. Bear with me a second. I'm just going to get my share button going here. Right, and I've got to first get my whiteboard ready. So 1 second for that, and then I can do it. Okay, great. So what we're looking at is again, this is a picture that's taken from Cyndi Dale's Energetic Boundaries book. And so the case study I'm going to give you is that of my daughter who, when she was, I think, around about the age of 1, she developed eczema. Okay, and over a period of about 3 to 4 years, it worsened. So I was working on her using SRT for many, many years, took her to a kinesiologist, tried all sorts of different things, tackled diet, but I always knew that there was some kind of emotional component to the entire picture. Anything that is skin related, there's usually, not 100% of the time, but usually there's going to be some kind of boundary issue or challenge that's going on. So with my daughter, eventually, I landed upon this issue around boundaries. I did a bit of a clearing on her, and as I recall, this is going back quite a few years, I researched 2 past lives in which she had had her emotional boundaries overrun and challenged. Okay, so as a result of that trauma experience, when she incarnated into this life, and I have to say it was also part of her soul's karmic agenda to work on boundaries. So what happened is she actually developed what you see here in this picture is what we call rigid boundaries or boundaries that are too thick. Okay, now that's not helpful. Why is it not helpful? Because ideally, when you have a healthy boundary, it operates like a good bouncer at a nightclub. Okay, so it allows the for want of a better word, the decent people in, and anyone who's looking a little bit like riffraff, the bouncer's going to say, no, you're a troublemaker, we're not letting you in. So a boundary works when it's healthy, it works in a similar way. But of course, where we have these experiences of trauma, whether it's in this lifetime or another lifetime, we can then form these kind of unhealthy boundaries, should I say. So this is exactly what happened with my daughter. She had these boundaries, they were really, really thick. And as a result of that, she just said, you know what? I'm not letting anything in. And what that included, unfortunately, was the years and years of SRT work that I was actually doing on her. So she was actually blocking all the healing resources that I was desperately trying to bring into her reality. Not helpful, as you can imagine. Now, here's the real highlight of the story. Once I did that clearing and the soul was re-educated about healthy boundaries, I kid you not, it was about 2 weeks. She was covered head to toe in eczema. She had to integrate that session or that clearing, and within 2 weeks, she was literally cleared from top to bottom. So, I mean, this work always amazes me. So that's a really nice example of where our emotional boundaries can be challenged and how it can actually result in a physical issue. For example, a challenge on the skin. All right, so hopefully I've explained that well. The next thing I want to talk about is the other kind of boundary challenges that we can have. And this is really about the next one I want to mention is spiritual boundary challenges. So what are the kinds of spiritual boundary challenges we have? Some examples are where we have messages that are inflicting a deep sense of shame, unworthiness, a lack of value. These messages can come from anyone. It doesn't have to be someone practicing a particular religion, but messages of powerlessness and messages of badness. As I mentioned, it could come from anybody. It could be from the ancestors, whether that's in this lifetime or other lifetimes. And it can also come from non-physical beings or entities that are invading your energy field. Another example is where we have cult organization, brainwashing, and of course, there are many, many more examples. So what tends to happen is once we actually address the challenges on the spiritual boundary level, in combination with other boundary challenges, whether those are physical, emotional, relational, often what results is faster healing. And this is because, to quote Cyndi Dale here, the true source of our healing is actually spiritual. Okay, so what else did I want to talk about? Really, the signs of boundary challenges. So, how do you know when your boundaries have been violated? How do you know when they're being challenged? Apart from the obvious ones, say you're walking down the street and somebody picks a fight with you, punches you on the nose. That's a very obvious physical boundary violation. But some of them are very subtle, and as I mentioned, some of them are also occurring at very unconscious levels. So here are a few signs that you might be experiencing boundary challenges. First one is experiencing overwhelm energy. This is usually a red flag, okay? So if you are experiencing overwhelm energy and you work with a modality such as SRT, of course, you can ask your guidance about this and you might get a resounding yes. Mental and physical exhaustion, depression, feeling obligated to give care to others and then not receiving it in return, feeling like you're stuck in life but unable to change, having poor sleep, or you're walking around, you're constantly angry, frustrated, and resentful, or not being able to say no without feeling guilty. Now, that's just a sampling of the kinds of warning signs of boundary challenges. So, what can we do to heal our boundaries? Okay, and again, this is just a sampling of things. There may be many more different things that we can bring in, but again, this is, as I say, just a sampling. The first thing that's really helpful is to have a robust auric field or energy egg, if you want to put it in those terms. And the way we can begin to create that is through a centering and grounding practice. So really grounding of our authentic essence is essential. And this is something that I am going to be teaching in a future video. I just have to check in with my guidance about when that's going to be. But what I will do is once I've created that video, I'll probably pop it in the description box below. So that's a really important one. Looking at the belief systems that you hold in consciousness that are feeding into the boundary challenges. And again, this is just a sampling of belief systems. There can be so many different belief systems that are, of course, contributing to these boundary challenges. So belief systems like I am unsafe, I am unloved, I am unworthy, I am unsupported, I am overwhelmed, I am damaged, or compromised by morphogenetic field energies. Now, the morphogenetic field, I may have mentioned this in a previous video, is the field that sits around the Earth. And we have a morphogenetic field within our field system. So we really are bathing in the morphogenetic field energies. But it's really not helpful to pick up morphogenetic field energies because of the kinds of impacts that those energies can have. So again, there are different things that you can do to address that. It is one of the more common things that I see when working with clients, pretty much shows up in every session. Okay, another kind of belief system is that I am cut off from our highest and best good. In our SRT language, this would probably show up on the charts as spiritual suicide. So there you have it. Those are the kinds of belief systems or a sampling of belief systems that we can hold in consciousness. If you work with SRT, you can use the SRT release statements to address these kinds of limiting belief systems. And often that's quite a powerful process to go through. The other things that you can do is you can ask for healing streamers of grace to come in and support you in the moments. And the beauty of that is you don't have to micromanage it. These streamers of grace will simply come into your energy field. They will do the work that is needed. And when the work is complete, they will simply move on. Okay, one final exercise that I'm going to share with you is, again, this is taken from Cyndi Dale's wonderful book, Energetic Boundaries. And let me just bring that up for you now. Hold on 2 secs. I just need to sort my Microsoft whiteboard out. So this is helpful, particularly with emotional boundary challenges. And just to say, her book is loaded with these kinds of energy exercises that you can do. So let me just bring that up for you now. All right. So essentially what you can do is you imagine that you have a pyramid that is placed over your energy egg, your auric field, okay? And this pyramid, as you can see there, is covered in black-colored mirror-like scales or shingles that are pointing upwards. And what it does is it actually deflects other people's issues, emotions, towards their higher selves, back towards spirit. Okay, so I just thought I'd share that with you. But really, if you want to go a little deeper into this work, of course, you can get a copy of Cyndi Dale's wonderful book, The Energetic Boundaries. This is what it looks like, and take a deeper dive into that. So I hope this video has been helpful in some way. If you'd like to stay up to date with my latest offerings, please hit the subscribe button. And I just want to take the opportunity to wish you a wonderful February. Take care. Many blessings.